Cristiano Ronaldo has completed his move to Manchester United. We'll bring you his special message to Sir Alex Ferguson. Real Madrid have not given up hope of signing Kylian Mbappe today. As Hector Bellerin looks set to leave, there's news that Arsenal could increase their spending to more than £150 million this summer. Hi there, we are into the afternoon this deadline day, and time is fast becoming a factor as teams look to push any final deals over the line. Less than 10 hours to go. You can stay across every detail of every deal. You can see our handy transfer video printer at the bottom of your screen's lines there. Leicester, Newcastle and up and down the EFL and in Scotland as well. We will also go around the clubs for the latest on potential transfers involving Manchester United with our reporter Ben Ransom. A day of celebration for the Reds half of Manchester, and not too far away from there, Keith Downie, who's normally resident in the northeast, is now in Yorkshire with Leeds United, who are getting closer to signing a player from Manchester United, and Chelsea could also be a place where there is plenty of incomings and outgoings, and Jamie Weir is keeping across them for us.
And a big hello to those of you watching on Sky Sports News, YouTube and other digital channels. And a big hello to former Watford, Crystal Palace and Reading winger Joby McAnuff, who is with us. Good afternoon to you, Joby. He's standing by, ready to answer your questions. Make sure you post them on the chat.
OK, let's get right to it then, starting at Old Trafford. No doubt whatsoever about the big story right now. Ben Ransom is there for us. Ben, very good afternoon to you. Well, Cristiano Ronaldo made a special tribute today on his return to Manchester United. Tell us about that.
Yeah, what a story. Confirmation from both Juventus and Manchester United. This deal is done. Cristiano Ronaldo, once again, 12 years on from the last time he wore a Manchester United shirt, is a Manchester United player again. That first spell, 118 goals in 292 games. 8 major trophies, including 3 Premier League titles and the Champions League in 2008. It was a quite remarkable period in the club's history. And I think the sense here, not only of excitement, is that one of their favourite sons is coming home to Manchester United. That's the way the fans see it. That's the way the club see it. That's the way Cristiano Ronaldo himself sees it, because on his Instagram, he's put a nice little message up today. It's already got some 8 million likes. He's a pretty big deal, don't you know? He says that history's been written in the past. History will be written once again, he says. You have my word. There you go. There's a promise that we're going to see the best Cristiano Ronaldo. He says, I'm right here. I'm back where I belong. Let's make it happen once again. Perhaps he's talking about the trophies, the goals, the celebrations. P.S. Sir Alex, this one's for you. So Cristiano Ronaldo cannot wait to get back here in Manchester. He's away on international duty for another week until he comes back, in theory, next Wednesday. Sir Alex Ferguson, I'm sure when he does make his second debut, we sat in the director's box. It's only about 50 yards up there looking on. This place will be absolutely packed to the rafters as they get ready to welcome back not only one of the great players of his generation, but one of the great players of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo, a Manchester United player once again.
Ben, thank you very much indeed. So Ronaldo's arrival has paved the way for Dan James to leave Manchester United and join Leeds United. Keith Downie is at Ellen Road for us. And Keith, this deal is moving fast, isn't it?
Yeah, Dave, I don't think many people here at Leeds United saw this deal coming over the weekend, but when it was made clear to them that Dan James would be available for transfer, they moved very quickly yesterday. A £25 million fee was agreed late last night. The Welsh international travelled up here from the Welsh camp to Elland Road to have his medical this morning. He's currently having the second part of that medical, I think just in the final stages of that. We then expect him to travel here to Elland Road to formalise that transfer. My cameraman just caught a quick spot there just a moment ago of some of the club's TV cameras and social media guys arriving in anticipation of Dan James arriving here later on to formalise that transfer. This is a signing that Marcelo Bielsa has wanted for some time. 2.5 years ago, Dan James was here at Elland Road on transfer deadline day in the dying moments, waiting on a deal from Swansea to go through. Leeds had done everything on their part. He'd had his medical. He'd even posed for photographs with the Leeds United shirt, but it fell apart at the Swansea end, and Dan James didn't get his dream move. Fast forward 6 months on, he went to Manchester United. He's been there 2 years now, until last night. £25 million deal agreed between the two clubs. We're just waiting on the player arriving here and finalising that transfer. Only then will he be allowed to jet out and join the Wales squad ahead of their friendly against Finland tomorrow night. But Leeds, 2.5 years on, look as though they've got their man. £25 million. This is a big signing for Leeds United. Their second highest transfer fee they'll have ever spent, behind the signing of Rodrigo last year for £27 million. Leeds United and Marcelo Bielsa very happy and very excited with the capture of the Welsh international Dan James.
Thank you very much indeed, Keith. By the way, make sure that you check out our Deadline Day Transfer Centre live blog, skysports.com and the Sky Sports app, and also this video printer we've got at the bottom of your screen. Some interesting lines there from across Europe and also in Scotland, which we'll update you on in a bit. Chelsea, meanwhile, back in the Premier League, still looking at options as the hours this summer window tick away. Jamie Weir is keeping across them for us. Jamie, it's Deadline Day. Could it also be Koundé?
Oh, I see what you've done there, David. Very good. We'll come on to Jules Koundé in just a moment, but there are two deals that Chelsea are actively pursuing today. Both are looking a bit tricky at the moment, I have to say. Let's start with Saul Niguez, a player you know well yourself, David, being an aficionado of La Liga, of course, part of that title-winning team under Diego Simeone last season. Now, a loan move with an option to buy for Saul Niguez will only happen if Atleti can find a replacement midfielder. They signed Rodrigo de Paul from Udinese last month. They want Pablo Sarabia from PSG, but unless they get one man in, then Saul Niguez will not be heading to Chelsea on loan. Thomas Tuchel is keen to bring in another midfielder, having let Billy Gilmour leave on loan to Norwich. Of course, the Jules Koundé situation, David, hasn't really changed that much, to be honest with you, over the last week or so. He wants the move. Sevilla are pricing him out of it at the moment. In the last hour, the Sevilla director of football, Monchi, has been speaking. He said that he confirmed that last Friday Chelsea made a bid for Jules Koundé. We know that to be in the region of €50 million. They weren't satisfied with that. He has confirmed that his release clause remains €80 million. Sevilla haven't spoken to Chelsea since last Friday. Koundé is still pushing at his end. He's with the French squad at the moment. He wants the move to Chelsea to happen, but it's now looking very unlikely unless Chelsea dig deep for that one. So both the Saul Niguez deal and the Jules Koundé deal, they're really on a knife edge at the moment. And with Niguez in particular, we often see this in Deadline, don't we? This sort of domino effect. If Atleti can get another midfielder in, then perhaps Niguez can move to Chelsea. Just one final line to tell you about David as well, and that's Callum Hudson-Odoi. He will be staying at Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel wants him to fight for his place in the squad, and they haven't sanctioned any possible loan move to Borussia Dortmund. So Callum Hudson-Odoi staying at Stamford Bridge.
Fantastic, Jamie. Thank you very much indeed. Don't forget, we are streaming on Sky Sports News YouTube channel. Make sure you get your questions in using the chat function. We'll try and get some answers from JB McAnuff, who's with Joe Wilson, in a bit. What about Arsenal? They spent just under £130 million this summer, but Mikel Arteta could well be moving more players both in and out this Deadline Day. Emma Payton is across the Gunners and can tell us more. Hi there, Emma.
Hello. Yeah, well, 130 million and counting. I'm going to start with the name Takahiro Tomiyasu. And I think it's safe to say, look, this is a name that maybe a couple of hours ago many Arsenal fans hadn't even heard of, but it is a deal that is moving very quickly indeed today. Now, we understand that Arsenal have agreed a deal worth €23 million with Bologna for the defender. Sky in Italy saying he is actually having his medical today. Personal terms not expected to be a problem. And I say that a lot of Arsenal fans won't have heard of this player. Well, Tottenham fans might have, because this is a player that Tottenham were interested in bringing to North London earlier on in the transfer window. Of course, they have got a defender in Christian Romero from Atalanta. Tomiyasu, he is a versatile defender, can play at centre-back, can play at right-back as well. Right-back, but a bit of a problem area for Arsenal recently. And talking of right-backs, looks like one coming in and one going out. Hector Bellerin, it looks like he is edging ever closer to the Emirates exit. We understand that a loan move to Real Betis is edging ever closer. Both parties want this deal to happen. Of course, his contract is up in 2023, so he's got a couple of years left on his Arsenal contract. He spent the best part of 10 years at Arsenal, joined in the summer of 2011, of course, from the Barcelona youth team. Of course, he was a regular under Arsene Wenger, wasn't he? And he's seen really his sort of appearances decline recently. He hasn't even played a single game under Mikel Arteta this season. So look, it looks like he is heading back to Spain. Reports as well that Real Betis is actually his boyhood club, and he is going to link up with Manuel Pellegrini over at Betis. A quick line to bring you as well, David. Reiss Nelson, he is having his medical at Feyenoord today. That is ahead of a loan move. We also understand that Arsenal want to extend his contract until 2023 once that loan move is finalised. And just lastly, I'm going to leave you with the name Ainsley Maitland-Niles. We've been talking a lot about him in the last 24 hours, haven't we? As it stands, he is still an Arsenal player, but keep your eyes on this one today.
Yeah, that one could well rumble. Thank you very much indeed, Emma.
Yeah, there is lots going on. Joby McAnuff has made plenty of transfers during his 21-year playing career that saw him make over 700 appearances. You're with us this afternoon. There is lots to talk about, but we're going to focus on what is undoubtedly one of the biggest transfers. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's back at Manchester United. 36 years old. I hate saying that 36 is old because, you know, it makes me feel very, very old indeed. What do you think the expectations are on him for this season at United?
Well, first thing I've got to say is he's not the average 36-year-old. When you look at him physically, you know, you look at his goal return, over 30 goals in his last 2 seasons, so he's certainly not slowing down in that regard. Again, he plays a lot of matches. He's not someone who's missed much football at all. So he's clearly someone who looks after himself, and his levels remain so high that I don't look at him as a 36-year-old. I just look at him as Cristiano Ronaldo. He's back in the Premier League. It's going to be fantastic for everybody here. And I think it'll make a really, really big impact. There's obviously talk about him not being the player he was when he left, but he hasn't been that player for a number of years now. You know, he'll stay central, be in and around the box, score goals and score important goals. And I think that could be the big key for Manchester United this season.
Yeah, and I mean, he outscored Romelu Lukaku in Serie A last season. Lots of people are talking about Lukaku already, the Golden Boot winner this season in the Premier League. Do you think that Ronaldo will have his eye on those kind of targets, or do you think he will be happy taking kind of less of a role and, like you say, coming in to score the important goals at the important moments?
I think he always wants to be the best. I think that's one thing that's kept him at the level that he has for so long. Of course, that rivalry with Messi. And I think, again, to think both players have moved in one transfer window is incredible. But yeah, you know, he'll thrive off that pressure of being the main man, of wanting to beat Lukaku to the Golden Boot and anybody else, Harry Kane. You know, he's coming here, as he always does, to be the very, very best he can. And I think, again, having that presence in the squad for the other players will be massive for Man United this year.
Yeah, and you already touched on Lionel Messi. I mean, it's been an extraordinary transfer window and there is still time to go. Have you known a transfer window like this in recent times particularly? How exciting has it been? Oh,
it's been incredible. I think, you know, we probably haven't had this excitement for a number of years given the pandemic, and I think football's slowing down a little bit in general. You know, deadline day has always been something that I've certainly been at home watching, keeping an eye on. And the window in itself's been incredible. So many transfers almost gone under the radar. Jack Grealish, British transfer record, we hardly speak about that. All the stuff happening with Harry Kane, Lukaku coming back. It's been incredible, and hopefully we've got a little bit more action today, possibly with the Mbappe situation. Yeah, absolutely, and we'll hear much more from you, Joby. Thank you very much for now, but I think we can actually get a bit of an update on that Mbappe situation.
Seamless, Joe and Joby. Thank you. Yeah, Kylian Mbappe with the France squad in Strasbourg as we wait to see if Real Madrid will come in with a final bid for the PSG forward. Gary Cottrell is at the French team hotel for us. Gary, good afternoon. How frustrating do you think it will be for Mbappe if the window closes and he's still a PSG player?
Well, I think it's going to be very frustrating indeed. Listen, we'll see Kylian Mbappe down at the stadium a little bit later on today. They've got a World Cup qualifier tomorrow night. He's part of the squad. We've seen him already arriving at the team hotel. He was last off the bus, a baseball cap, COVID mask. What we could see of his face was not a happy bunny at all. Clearly, we know he wants to go to Real Madrid. We know Real Madrid want to sign him, but we know that it's getting very, very tight now. Listen, Real Madrid like a bit of drama, don't they? Like a deadline day deal. We understand that this is the kind of manoeuvring now that is going on behind the scenes. Real Madrid have said that if PSG contact them and say, if you give us 200 million, we will offer you 200 million for Kylian Mbappe, but PSG are not going to contact Real Madrid and offer it. They're waiting for Real Madrid to make the offer. So it really is people digging in their heels, it would seem, at the moment. Meanwhile, Kylian Mbappe waits. Listen, that brinkmanship that Real Madrid like, they did a deadline day deal, didn't they, for the Brazilian Ronaldo? They did a deadline day deal for Sergio Ramos. They did a deadline day deal for Gareth Bale. Do you remember that? But remember David De Gea? Finally, after a day of negotiations on deadline day, they reached an agreement. They got the paperwork, but it's so late that La Liga rejected the paperwork. David De Gea was in tears. Mbappe's not in tears, but right now he's a bit grumpy, I suspect.
Yes, I'd imagine he would be if he doesn't get his dream move this time around, but he may have to wait another window. Thank you, Gary. Now, there's been so much speculation around England players during this window. We know, of course, that Harry Kane isn't going anywhere. But what about the rest? Rob Dorset is at St George's Park with the England squad. So, Rob, what do you know?
Well, the England squad has trained this morning. First time the squad's been together as they prepare for a big old game that we kind of get lost of and forget about with transfer deadline day upon us. But just in 2 days' time, England will play their toughest game in World Cup qualifying away in Hungary. And 7 days ago, there were an awful lot of concerns that this squad might be dominated by transfer dealings. Kieran Trippier was being linked with a move to Manchester United. Jesse Lingard's future at Old Trafford was seriously in doubt. And as you mentioned there, of course, Harry Kane 7 days ago was still trying to force a move through to Manchester City. Looks like all three of those things aren't happening, and I think Gareth Southgate and the rest of the FA staff are very relieved. Of course, a lot can still change. We've got nearly 10 hours of the transfer window to go, but it looks like there will be no transfer dealings with this England squad. But we will hear from a newbie. We've been talking about new players all the time. A newbie in England terms, Patrick Bamford. First time he's been called up to the senior squad. He will be talking to the media later on this afternoon at England's media day at 3:45. We'll bring that to you on Sky Sports News. But a brief update on the situation with Leicester before I let you go as well. Ademola Lookman is on his way to Leicester's training ground as I speak to you right now. Leicester hopeful they can get his loan completed from RB Leipzig before the 11 o'clock deadline. And Newcastle, and in particular Steve Bruce, is still very keen to get Hamza Chowdhury, the Leicester midfielder, out on loan before the deadline. Still discussions ongoing between the two clubs about the level of his wages, I understand, but Steve Bruce is not giving up on that one. So still an awful lot happening.
Thank you very much indeed. Rob Dorset with the England squad at St George's Park. So 9 3/4 hours to go. Tottenham, Everton, Crystal Palace fans, do not go anywhere. Your clubs are coming up right next. And of course, as always, we're reflecting this digitally as well. Make sure you check out our Transfer Centre Deadline Day live blog on skysports.com or the Sky Sports app. See you in a couple of minutes.
We're all in.
We're all in to kick it out.
you know what we're always in the market for on Deadline Day, and that is done deals, and Brighton have got one. Marc Cucurella from Getafe has joined for around £15 million. Not just a tricky left winger who works incredibly hard. He starred for Getafe and Eibar, formerly Barcelona, of course. But also, just look at that hair. Even got a close-up at the end.
Sensational.
Isn't it? Isn't it? You just want to see that just blowing in the wind. Right, OK, let's go to Tottenham. They are top of the Premier League. They've kept hold of Harry Kane. There could be more for the fans to smile about today. Paul Gilmore's at the club's training ground, also with impeccable hair. Tell us about the defender they're bringing in, Paul.
Yeah, not quite a done deal, but Emerson Royal is in Barcelona having a medical ahead of that deal worth around €30 million. Personal terms agreed. So just that medical, we haven't heard an update on that just yet. So assuming that is still very much ongoing, as Tottenham hope to bring in that right back, and that means Serge Aurier is the most likely departure today, although no signs yet of him moving on from Tottenham. Real Betis was one option, but Serge Aurier certainly the most likely outgoing if that does happen. Tanguy Ndombele will be staying at the club, we're being told, beyond today's deadline, so a chance for him to be integrated back into the squad and make an impact under Nuno Espirito Santo. And of course Adama Traore was talked about as someone Tottenham have keen interest in. That is the case, they are keen, but very difficult deal to do, mainly because Wolves don't want to sell. They value him upwards of £50 million, so we're being told that looking very unlikely. So as things stand, the crucial words, as things stand, Tottenham may be unlikely to bring anyone apart from Emerson Royal, but we will of course keep an eye and let you know if things change throughout the day. Long way to go.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul.
Well, what about Everton? They've started remodelling their squad under Rafa Benitez. Will we see a striker come in today to compete with Dominic Calvert-Lewin for a starting place? Vinny O'Connor is at their training ground for us and can answer that question.
Well, that's what they want at the moment. Obviously, following the departure of Moise Kean back to Juventus on a 2-year loan. Obviously, we know that Richarlison can play through the middle up front as well, but ideally Everton would want another option in there, and that other option remains Solomon Rondon as well. Everton, we know, have been in talks. It is still possible he could link up again with Rafa Benitez. This is a deal that Everton are still working on. There's a few other areas that they're looking at, of course, as well, and again, it comes from creativity. And in the attacking area, there's the James situation to sort out, isn't there? A move away for him could well suit both parties. That might not necessarily please all of the Evertonian fans, but obviously, Everton have looked at Luis Diaz at Porto and talk of James going the other way on loan as well. But at the moment, nothing decisive so far. And we also know that Everton ideally would like more strength at the back in terms of cover at right back. Carlo Ancelotti had made that clear before he departed, of course, and Rafa Benitez wants very much the same. So we await developments there, really, whether there's any kind of wriggle room with Arsenal over the Maitland-Niles situation, who would clearly suit Everton on loan, and it appears that it would be a move that he'd be welcome to as well, that would be welcome to him as well. But as I say, and as Paul said a short while ago, there is a long way to go just yet, but Everton potentially still doing business today.
OK, Vinny, thank you for that.
Right, let us switch from northwest to South London. Celtic striker Odsonne Edouard currently having a medical ahead of a move to Crystal Palace. Michael Bridge is covering Palace for us. What more can you tell us?
Yes, David, Crystal Palace wanted a striker all summer, and they're getting one. Yes, as you say, Odsonne Edouard is the player, I'm told. He's having a medical at Crystal Palace. They will sign a striker. Patrick Vieira will be absolutely delighted with that. I'm told the fee is around £14 million, which will rise to about £18 million. Now, interesting one here. We've had a lot of tweets, texts coming in asking about the future fee, because PSG are due, and I'm told, around 40% of the profit. So that's around maybe PSG getting around £2 million if I'm doing my Carol Bullerman countdown maths. Remember, he's Celtic's record buy at £9 million. It's a decent deal as well for Celtic, where, you know, speaking to Celtic supporters as well, they got the feeling this is probably the last time they'd see him at Celtic this season. So he'll be on his way. Celtic, of course, bringing players in as well. But looking at Crystal Palace, this is good for them as well. They needed a bit more firepower. They didn't score at Chelsea, didn't score against Brentford. They've got 2 at West Ham. Fantastic, Conor Gallagher. But it gives them more strength up front, so they'll be happy. Steve Parish will be very happy. And I think they're doing some pretty good business.
Thank you very much indeed, Michael.
Yeah, so Edouard on his way out of Celtic, but as Michael alluded to there, it might not be the end of their business at the club. And Mark Benstead can round up the latest transfer news in Scotland for us. Mark.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, not the end of the business going in or out of Celtic. Other players set to depart. Ryan Christie looks to be on his way out of the club. Another important servant for them over the last few years. He's in the final 6 months of his contract. Always likely he could move on in this transfer window. He is on the verge of a move to Bournemouth. The slight complication is, as you can see, he's currently with the Scotland squad over in Edinburgh. He trained with them this morning, so if a deal is to go through, the medical has to happen here and happen before the squad depart for Denmark later today. Elsewhere with Celtic, Lee Griffiths is set to move out of the club on loan to Dundee. He's currently with Dundee at the moment. That deal is all but done. We're just waiting for the two clubs to confirm it as done. A couple of boys potentially coming into the club today. One is the winger Felipe Jota, the Portuguese winger. We expect that deal to be done, a loan deal today. We don't expect him into Glasgow. One player we do expect to come into the city today is the Greek striker who is coming in, Georgios Giacomakis from Holland for £2.5 million. We expect him to come in today to complete that deal. A former Celtic player is getting a good move today. Jack Hendry's moving from Ostend to Bruges for around €10 million. Back in Glasgow, across the city, Rangers are looking to get rid of a couple of players. Brandon Barker is surplus to requirements. Nikola Katic could be going out on loan, potentially back to Croatia as he recovers from that serious injury. No formal bid for Glenn Kamara just yet, but that could change. That's one we're paying close attention to. And elsewhere in Scotland today, a Norwegian defender, Sondre Solholm Johansen, has joined Motherwell on a 3-year deal. Ali Crawford has returned to Scotland to sign for St Johnstone from Bolton on loan. Ollie Shaw has made a permanent move to Kilmarnock from Ross County. And going the other way, Ross County have signed Alex Samuel on a 2-year deal from Wickham. Plenty more could happen across the course of the day in Scotland, but that's how things stand just now.
Great stuff, Mark. Thank you for now.
OK, let's bring Joby McAnuff back in. We heard from Vinny O'Connor and Everton. Liverpool been quite quiet, haven't they? What do you make of their strategy where they're focusing more on actually just extending players' contracts at the moment?
Yeah, I think Jurgen Klopp is, by all accounts, quite happy with the squad he's got. Clearly, a lot of injuries last year. Those players have come back. I think the big problem he has is who do you bring in that's going to be better than what he already has, and I think that's the difficulty in the transfer market and maybe not rocking the boat as much. So I think that emphasis has been on clearly tying down the really important players, and that's where their focus has been so far.
Let's talk a little bit about Crystal Palace. We heard from Michael Bridge that Odsonne Edouard has been very heavily linked, could be moving to Selhurst Park. Do you think it's the right kind of move for him and for the club?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the striker, has been a priority for the club. Christian Benteke being the main striker, obviously had a good spell at times last year, but I think that's certainly an area they needed to improve, and I think it'd actually turn out to be a good bit of business. Obviously, Vieira will know him very well. Player who's come through the French under-21 system, and I think it would be a good signing.
And talking about another of your former clubs, Nikola Vlasic has joined West Ham United. Do you think that they can really keep up with the expectations that they set last season under David Moyes?
Yeah, well, they've certainly had a really, really good start to the season. Again, I think good business. They've identified key areas, obviously getting Kurt Zuma in as well. Obviously, Vlasic coming over wasn't too successful first time round, but he was obviously a lot younger. He's gone away, got that experience, had a couple of really good seasons, and I think he comes back a more mature player, and I think we'll see that at West Ham.
Fantastic, Joby. Thank you very much indeed. Remember, if you're watching on Sky Sports News YouTube channel, we want your questions for Joby. We'll be putting the best ones to him after the break. Stay with us.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in. We're all in to kick it out.
Partnering to end racism in sport.
Welcome back to Sky Sports News. On deadline day, don't forget to keep checking that video print at the bottom of your screen to see if there's any news on your club. Burnley fans, I've got something for you right now, and you have got another summer signing. It is the Swansea City defender and Wales international as well, Connor Roberts, who signed for an undisclosed fee. And he signed a 4-year deal at Turf Moor. 25-year-old right-back becomes their 5th senior signing of the summer. Obviously, the man they really wanted was Maxwell Cornet, wasn't it, from Lyon. And also Nathan Collins, Wayne Hennessy and Aaron Lennon re-signing for the club was unattached. And Alan Pace, who's the chairman of Burnley, has said, on behalf of everyone at Burnley Football Club, we're delighted to welcome Connor to Turf Moor. So there you have it. That's a done deal. Burnley have signed Connor Roberts, the Wales international defender from Swansea City. Right, let's find out what is happening around Europe. Join our colleague from Sky Germany, Mark Behrenbeck. Mark, very good deadline day to you. Ronaldo, let's talk about him. His move to Manchester United sent shockwaves across Europe. Are we likely to see anything similar in the Bundesliga before today's deadline?
Well, hello from Germany. It's a busy day. It's a really wonderful day for us as well in Germany. But no, not at all. I mean, the German market is completely different. Our biggest move is Marcel Sabitzer, central midfielder from RB Leipzig to Bayern Munich, for example, and the replacement from Barcelona. But the amount of Marcel Sabitzer is only 15 million euros. So you see the difference between the English market and the German one. So we don't have these big moves, a lot of loan deals in the Bundesliga and the second division, but at the moment there won't be the one and only big move like at the UK at you guys.
Yeah, I wonder if we wait a couple of windows, we might be using the words Erling Haaland very, very soon in either the winter or the summer next year. Right, let's talk about one German club who could have one in, one out. RB Leipzig, an incoming from Barcelona potentially, and an outgoing to Leicester City. Tell us about those, Mark.
Yes, Ilaix Moriba, I mentioned him before. He is a big talent, one of the biggest talents in the central midfield position, 18 years old, and he's doing his medical check at the moment in Leipzig. And yeah, he is a really big guy. For example, Leipzig wanted him so much. Tottenham was in this negotiations as well. They had some negotiations during the last days in Barcelona, but Leipzig made the race and they will sign him, and it will be official, and he will be the replacement. Huge talent, yes, for Leipzig again, but Leipzig spent around 20 million euros.
OK, let's talk about Callum Hudson-Odoi, Mark, because he's been linked with the move to the Bundesliga for some time, but his loan from Chelsea to Borussia Dortmund won't be happening. Still time for them to get another winger, maybe?
No, the deal is off from Callum Hudson-Odoi. That's right. We heard it from Dortmund as well. And we talked to Michael Zorc, the sports director of Dortmund, a couple of minutes ago. And he said to us that there won't be any move to Dortmund. So no winger, no replacement for Callum Hudson-Odoi. Dortmund was very busy during the last days, but no Dalot at the end and no Michael Zorc.
All right, Mark, for the moment.
Sorry, and no, yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
And hello again to all our viewers on YouTube. We've been asking you to send in your questions on our YouTube live stream. And Joe, we've got a few to bring you now. How about this one? Manchester United, they've obviously already signed Cristiano Ronaldo. The fans want more, though. Tyrone says here, Man United need a defensive midfielder. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think, listen, I don't think it's going to happen in this window, given the outlay they've already put out there. But I think to get them that bit closer to maybe winning the league, I definitely think it's a position they need to strengthen. You look at Jorginho and the effect he can have in terms of controlling games, particularly against the top teams. That's certainly an area I'd be looking for if I was a Man United fan.
Yeah, one deal that's not been done, we're keeping an eye on, is Kylian Mbappe. Someone's asked here, Mbappe to Real Madrid or Liverpool? It could be one for next summer now, couldn't it? What do you make of the whole Mbappe situation?
It's amazed me, you know, when you look at the type of money that's being knocked back really by PSG, you know, somewhere in a region of £150 million. You know, for someone who's got a year left on his contract, I find absolutely incredible. I think if they do keep him, it's a gamble. They want to win the Champions League. I suppose the question they have to ask is, at what cost will that come? And clearly they're a club that has the resources, but it is a big gamble to keep him and not cash in on him now.
Yeah, another question here from one of our viewers. Is Ainsley Maitland-Niles leaving Arsenal? We've obviously seen his plea on Instagram about him leaving. Do you feel for the player, Joby, when they're trying to push through a move on deadline day?
Yeah, it can be difficult. It can be frustrating. I think for him in particular, probably seeing some of the guys that he's come through with, Smith Rowe, Saka being such prominent players now, and he's probably not got those opportunities. And ultimately, every player wants to play regularly. You know, you're training all week. You want to get a game when the weekend comes or the match day comes, and clearly that hasn't been the case with him. So I think that's certainly, from his point of view, in the back of his mind, trying to get out and play regular football.
Yeah, this one here, a Liverpool fan, been a quiet one for Liverpool, hasn't it? Just the one signing, Ibrahima Konate, coming early in the window. James is asking, you're going to have to look into your crystal ball here. Will Liverpool sign anyone today?
I think the big factor could be, there's a possible injury to Firmino, how serious that is, and there is talk of Origi potentially leaving as well. I think if someone did come in, it would be more as a squad player. I think it's difficult to go and replace what Liverpool have already got, and I think that's the big issue at the moment for Jurgen Klopp. So I'd be very surprised to see anyone coming in between now and the window.
Yeah, loads of questions coming in. It's great that you're all getting involved. Just finally for now, Shelley saying, what do you think about Daniel James' move to Leeds?
I think a good move for all parties. Clearly a player who's going to have his chances limited this season. I think he fits in perfectly with Marcelo Bielsa and the way that he wants to play. We know he's intense, high pressing, and certainly Dan James's qualities lend themselves to that style of football.
OK, thank you for now, Joby. David, back to you with some breaking news.
Yes, indeed, we do have breaking news, and it comes in the Scottish Premiership because Dundee have announced the loan signing of Lee Griffiths from Celtic a decade after leaving Dens Park. By the way, go to the Deadline Day Transfer Centre live blog to just see all of these moves as they happen. And Blackburn Rovers have also signed the Brighton midfielder Reda Khadra on loan for the season, and also secured a permanent deal to sign Lincoln City defender Tayo Edun. It is Deadline Day takeover here at Sky today. Next up, we're going to be looking at deals for Brighton, West Ham. We will also round up the latest moves elsewhere in the EFL. Remember, we have less than 10 hours to go. Stay with us here on Sky Sports News.
We're all in. We're all in to kick it out.
this is deadline day. We're going to bring you some pictures that have just come into us here at Sky Sports News of a certain Jack Wilshere. This is him out in Italy. He arrived last night. He took part in his first training session this morning. Worth noting that the Serie B club have no immediate plans to sign the former Arsenal midfielder. He is a free agent, although Wilshere has been welcomed to Como thanks to his close relationship with Dennis Wise. Dennis Wise is a technical consultant at the club. So could we be seeing Jack Wilshere playing in Italy? That is the question. One to keep an eye on.
I mean, I'm guessing it's the same Como as in Lake Como, as in where people like George Clooney have lovely houses and things like that. So in terms of lifestyle, why on earth would he be attracted to? No, but obviously, as you mentioned there, a kind of a personal connection there with Dennis Wise, which could be significant. Of course, remember that Jack Wilshere was playing on the South Coast with Bournemouth. Let's head to the South Coast now and go around some more Premier League teams, starting off with Brighton. Gail Davis is at their training ground. Gail, plenty of outgoings at Brighton, but today they are one of the teams who've done an early bit of business, aren't they?
They have. We have our first signing here on deadline day. Marc Cucurella. We met him a few minutes ago. He's absolutely thrilled to be coming to the Premier League. Brighton have signed him on a 5-year deal. 23-year-old left-back who can also play in midfield. Brighton paying around £15 million. That triggered his release clause. And he may not be the only one. Abdullah Sima is a striker from Slavia Prague. They're also hopeful of getting in. Now, this is a player who's attracted quite a lot of attention. He scored against Leicester in the Europa League a couple of years ago. Just 2 years ago. He's playing in the 5th tier of French football, but he's worked his way up. 16 goals in 33 appearances, away with the Senegal side at the moment. Now, if they do get that deal over the line, the likelihood is he may well be back out on loan to continue that development. Graham Potter very happy with the 3 strikers he has, and Brighton tend to play just the one up front, so we'll wait with him. In terms of departures, well, we know Ben White left, didn't he, to go to Arsenal for £50 million. Yves Bissouma is a player who lots of the clubs have shown an interest in over the past couple of seasons, but we understand there was no official offer made for the player, and potentially keeping him here might be the best bit of business that Brighton have done this summer.
Thank you, Gail.
Right, what about West Ham? Are they looking to bring anyone in before the deadline? We're keeping Michael Bridge busy this afternoon. He is across the club's transfer activity for us. Michael, what can you tell us?
Don't worry, I don't mind keeping busy. That's what deadline day is all about. West Ham in talks to sign Alex Kral on loan. Czech teammates, of course, Thomas Souček and Vladimir Koufal are there already. Now, he's a defensive midfielder who can also play in defence. So David Moyes adding some bit more steel in that midfield ahead of their Europa League campaign. Of course, they signed Nikola Vlasic earlier, a creative midfielder, an attacking midfielder, an exciting Croatian international as well. So we thought West Ham's business was done, but obviously not with Kral in talks for a loan with an option to buy. This deal is far from done. There's a situation going on at the moment with Czech Republic playing in a World Cup qualifier in a couple of days, so they're just sorting out the logistics of a potential medical. So stay with us on Sky Sports News throughout the afternoon and the evening as West Ham close in on another signing on deadline day.
Fantastic stuff. Great to see your energy, Michael, on deadline day. And yes, I'll be keeping an eye on all 72 sides in the EFL as well as they look to make some deadline day signings. Let's have a quick wrap now. Let's start with the Championship and Sheffield United, who haven't had the best start to the season on the pitch but have made moves off of it today. They've strengthened by signing experienced international midfielder Conor Hourihane from Aston Villa. That's on a season-long loan. He's now off on international duty with the Republic of Ireland. That's after completing that switch to Bramall Lane. Staying in the Championship, and Bournemouth are having a really busy deadline day as well as they look to complete a couple of deals. Jamal Lowe was having the first part of his medical down south this morning. That's after the club agreed a £1.5 million permanent deal with Swansea, and Bournemouth are in the driving seat to sign Celtic's attacking midfielder Ryan Christie, who is currently training with the Scotland national side. He's a free agent on January the 1st. Blackpool have recaptured Jordan Gabriel on a permanent transfer from Nottingham Forest. Morris, the 22-year-old who spent last season on loan at Blackpool, has signed for an undisclosed fee, signing a 4-year deal. Staying in the Championship, and Swansea City are trying to sign Liverpool's Reece Williams on loan. But there are a number of things still to be ironed out for this deal to go through. This is far from a certain deal, but at the moment there's a willingness on both sides to get this one done. We'll keep an eye on that one throughout the course of the day. Swansea really busy today. Now into League One, and Accrington Stanley have completed the signing of striker Jovan Malcolm from West Brom on a season-long loan. And finally, we'll dip into League Two, and Newport County have signed Ollie Cooper on loan for the season from Swansea, and Exeter City are closing in on a permanent deal for Bournemouth midfielder Kyle Taylor. So we'll be keeping an eye on all of the action in the EFL. 72 clubs hoping to make some signings today, and that clock keeps on ticking.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Just having a look at that video print at the bottom of your screen, you can see actually quite a lot of Midlands clubs are being mentioned. Aston Villa, Wolves could be doing some business today. Leicester, could they let Hamza Chowdhury go to Newcastle? Doesn't look like he's immediately part of Brendan Rodgers' plans at the King Power Stadium. And there's also a number of players, really, who could actually be kept at the clubs, maybe indeed against their own wishes. We talked about Ainsley Maitland-Niles before, but you've also got people like Tanguy Ndombele. Looks like he's not going to leave Spurs. Maybe someone like Ross Barkley. James Rodriguez doesn't seem to be part of Rafa Benitez's
plans. Sometimes that is what transfer deadline day is about, actually. It's about the players that stay at clubs as well. So yeah, there is plenty to keep an eye on, and you can keep across it all on that video printer, as David mentioned, on the bottom of your screen. Right, we heard Mark McAdam bringing us the very latest from the EFL there. Joby McAnuff is still with us. Joby, it is always a busy one in the Championship on deadline day. Who do you think has done the best business so far?
I think, for me, the ones that jump out certainly today are Conor Hourihane going to Sheffield United. They've had a real dreadful start to the season. We're among the favourites for promotion this year, but a real slow start. We saw his impact at Swansea last year. It was fantastic for them. So I think, again, he goes in there, ready-made experience, and I think he'll really add to that. Jamal Lowe is a bit of a surprising one for me. I've got to say, I'm surprised Swansea are letting him go, especially to Bournemouth, who, again, are going to be a team who are going to be amongst those promotion
it's selling
rivals.
To a rival, isn't it? Yeah.
You know, so that one really is a bit of a surprise. I think overall, QPR did some really good work early on in the window. You know, they secured the services of Charlie Austin, Johansson, and there's talk about, I don't know if it got done, but Andre Gray potentially moving from Watford, which I think would bolster them massively. So, you know, they're the ones probably that jump out for me at the moment.
Obviously, when you've got such a busy window and such a seismic window like this one with the big names that have been moving, you can, I suppose, forgive players for having a little bit of FOMO, right? And the ones who really want to move on deadline day are there waiting by their phones, hoping that their agent's name pops up. What is that like? And do you have sympathy for players in that position, Joby?
Yeah, I think the thing that always surprises me is it actually gets to this point. You know, there's been a whole summer, you know, a whole start of a season, and of course things do happen late on. I think what you'll see today is maybe some lads who are maybe second, third choice, which happens. Maybe the first choice doesn't quite materialise for that team in question, and then it's a bit of a last-minute scramble to get on the motorway, go and do a medical. So I'm sure there'll be lads still now watching their phones. There's obviously still time to get things done.
Oh, plenty of time.
And again, ultimately, it's about, for a lot of lads, just getting out and playing regular football, I think, at this stage.
Yeah, and you have been part of the coaching staff as well. You've seen that side of things. I just wonder, from that perspective, I mean, what is the feeling there? Because there's such a knock-on effect, isn't there, as well? Because if you don't get a deal done, if you do get a deal done, you need to bring in replacements, for example. What is that like from that side of things?
Yeah, again, very tense. And I think, for me, I know we did try it here, but having a window shut before the season starts, I know we didn't get in line with the rest of Europe, so it wasn't ideal, but it can be very unsettling for coaching staff, you know, for players, and I think that's basically the question. If something comes in and it's too late, you're reluctant to let somebody go if it's going to have that knock-on effect on your squad. You're not going to be able to replace. But again, the wheels are in motion. There's a lot of work done behind the scenes, and sometimes it takes till today, crazy enough as it is, to really push that button and try and get things in motion.
You still want to play against Ronaldo, don't you, Joby?
I was thinking I might have to try and come out of retirement, maybe go to a lower league club and get a draw.
You must be a similar age.
Whoever they have in the FA Cup third round, just go speak to that manager.
Yeah, it's a little bit depressing. He's getting two years and an option at 36, you know what I mean? So, no, listen, he's fantastic, and it's going to be great for me watching now as a fan. You know, and everyone who's involved in the Premier League this year.
Fantastic. It's been such a pleasure having you with us on this deadline day. Thank you very much indeed. I want to say 4 words this deadline day. Mbappe to Madrid, done. We've got 9 hours to see if it will get done.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get plenty of reaction to that as well. We'll also recap all the done deals as well. Cristiano Ronaldo returns to Manchester United. Darren Bent joins us to talk all things transfers next.